Hello everyone, welcome. It's Juliet here. Happy Friday. So today we are going to be making this earring, which is another earring that I have made using the Love Spell collection. I'm kind of doing a little bonus project here because we are actually trying to move, and a lot of my beading stuff is packed up, but this is on hand. However, you can do it in any kind of color way that you want to do, obviously. But I mean, this is kind of cool. I like the dark reds and purples, and I think it looks kind of cool. So anyway, I'm going to be using these colors, but like I said, feel free to swap it out for any other thing that you want to use. Okay, so today I have here on my mat, I have obviously an earring finding. This one's just out of my stash because I've already used the ones that came in the collection. I have also here an 8mm Chaton. This is the Krakovski black diamond color. I have here 6 3mm Bicones. If you don't want to use the Bicones, you can just have all 8 O's, but I think the Bicones add a little bit of like extra bling on the end, so they are just around the perimeter here. You can see them there, okay? So 6 per earring. I have here some 3mm Firepolished beads, okay? And these again came in the collection. This is the luster metallic amethyst color. And then I have here some 8 O's out of the bead mix that we got. So I've picked out 6 of the ones that are the like amethyst color. They're silver lined, and so they have a little bit of light shining through them, okay? And then I've also picked out a bunch of the black ones as well. And then we also need some round 11 O's, so I've picked out some of the gold, and I thought these were black until recently, and I discovered they're actually very dark brown. And I've been calling them black. So I guess I'm colorblind, but they're just so dark colored to me. It looked all brown, black, and then I discovered they were brown. And then I have some 15 O's here that I've picked out as well in gold and black out of the mix, okay? And then I have here some Miyuki Delicas, 11O in black, and then I have here a 6mm Firepolished bead that is in the Siam color, which is my little drop right here, okay? All right, so you will need some thread, probably. I measured, and you're gonna need 30 inches per earring, okay? Which is 75 centimeters, okay? If you're on the metric system. And I am using today some KO thread in black, but you could use Fireline if that is your preference. Okay, so to begin, we are going to pick up one of our 11O rounds and then 2 of our Delicas. We're going to do this 6 times. So a round and then 2 Delicas, round, 2 Delicas, around, 2 Delicas, round, 2 Delicas. So that is now 5, around, and 2 Delicas. Okay, so once you have 6 sets on your needle, you can push that down and leave yourself a tail, kind of at least 4 inches. It's actually, you are going to need a little bit of extra length here to weave it in at the end. And then you're going to go through all the beads again, forming a circle. So make sure that you go in from the short end of the thread, okay? Otherwise you're just going to undo everything that you've just put on your needle. Okay, so it should form a circle like this. And then what you're going to do to close that up is you're going to go into the first gold bead, 2 Delicas, and then the next round as well. So I'm going through the first 4 beads. And I'm going to give that a pull and then we have a nice little ring like this. Okay. Once you have your ring, you're going to pick up a 15-0, and then I'm picking up one of my amethyst colored 8-0s and another 15-0. Okay, so a 15, an 8-0, and a 15. And I'm coming out from this gold 11-0. I'm going to go into the next gold 11-0. So I'm skipping over the Delicas and pull it so that it sits like this. And you're going to do this all the way around. So you're going to pick up another 15, 8, and 15. And you're going to go through the next gold bead until you have 6 points. Okay. Okay, and when you get back to the beginning, you're still going into that last gold bead, so you should now have kind of a star shape like this. All right, and we're going to step up through the 15-0 and the first 8-0 that we added in that round. Okay, now we are going to pick up a Delica, an 11-0 round, and a Delica. So I'm picking up black, gold, black, and I'm going straight into the next over 8-0. So I'm exiting from one 8-0 and I'm going straight into the next 8-0. Okay, so Delica, round, Delica, into the next 8-0. Okay, so go ahead and do that all the way around. And when you're adding your last group, you're just sewing through the 8-0, and then you can also continue through the first Delica and exit from the gold bead. Now when you pull this, you'll find that it does very slightly cup upwards. And make sure you're keeping your tail down on the bottom, okay? So this is slightly cupping upwards, and that's what you want. Okay, we're now going to pick up 3 11-0 rounds, and these are the brown 11-0 rounds, okay? We're going to go again through the gold bead that we're exiting, the next Delica, the 8-0, the next Delica, and then the next gold bead. So you're sewing through this gold bead and all the way through to the next gold bead. And you're going to give that a pull, and we have a little picot like this sitting on the edge. Pick up 3 more 11-0s and do the same thing. Go through the gold bead again and travel all the way to the next gold bead. And when you're doing this, make sure you're not accidentally catching one of the 15-0s. That sometimes they try to sneak in there and get in your way. So make sure you're not going into any of those 15-0s, okay? Because that'll just make your piece a little bit wobbly if you do that. So you're going through only 5 beads. And when you're doing your last group, it's the same thing. You will still go through the gold bead and exit the next gold bead. Okay, so you should now have 6 points like this on your piece, and you're going to go up through the first bead on the picot. Okay, so I was exiting this one, I went up through here, and then I'm going to come through the next bead. So I've turned direction, I'm now working this way. I'm going to pick up one 11-0, and I'm picking up the gold one, and then I'm going to go straight into the next point of the next picot over, but I'm not going to pull tight, I'm just going to leave it loose like this for now, okay? pick up another gold, go into the next point. So again, we're going to do this 6 times. I mean, if you want to pull a little bit so it cups upwards, you can, but don't pull tight, okay? And when you're adding your 6th bead on, go through that very first picot, through the gold bead, and through the 2nd picot. Okay, just to close that all up. Okay, so what I like to do here, I want this to cup upwards. I like to put mine down on the work surface and grab my Chaton, and I put it in face down. Okay, so it should be like this. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to gently pull, and it's going to close up around the back of your Chaton like this. Okay, there's the front. So what you're going to do now is you're going to reinforce this entire circle, so sew all the way around those inner beads, and just to make sure that that is all nice and tight in. And once you've done that, you're going to exit one of the gold beads. Okay, so I'm exiting from a gold bead, and I'm only going to sew around the gold beads. So I'm going straight into the next gold bead, and I'm pulling in even more. So just sew around only the gold beads and pull those ones in as tight as you can get them. Okay, so it should be pretty closed up like this, and when you hold it flat, you shouldn't be able to really see the point of your Chaton at all. So the point is below the beads, okay? All right, so once you've done that, move forward into the next brown bead or whatever color you're using, okay? And you're gonna sew down the bead on the side of the picot right here, okay? See, that's my little picot of 3, so I'm sewing down the side, and then I'm sewing into the gold bead at the end. So I'm now turned direction again, and I'm now going this way, all right? Okay, so we're now going to pick up a 15-0, a 3mm fire polish bead, and another 15-0. And you're going to go straight from this gold bead that we're exiting into the next over gold bead like this. And I'm still working on the back here. I haven't flipped it over, okay? So I'm working on the back. So I have this. I'm going to repeat. So 15, a fire polish bead, and a 15, and straight into the next gold bead. Okay, so I'm going to repeat 4 more times. I have to pick out a few more 15-0s, so I'll come back in a second once I've finished this round. Okay, I'm adding my last fire polish bead and 2 15s and going into the gold bead. So the back should now look like this, okay? And then I'm going to sew through the next 15-0 and the fire polish bead that we just added on. So I'm exiting from the fire polish bead. I'm going to flip over to the front now, okay? And hopefully if you were keeping your tail on the back, your tail is now up on the top, so you'll be able to weave that in at the end, okay? This is what we have at the moment. Okay, so exiting from the fire polish bead, I'm going to pick up an 8-0. So I'm picking up a black one, and then a 3mm bicone and another 8-0. And then I'm going to sew into the next fire polish bead over, and this will create kind of a little point like this, okay? And I'm going to do this all the way around. So picking up 8-0, 3mm bicone and 8/0. And like I said at the beginning, you don't have to use the bicones. You could just do all 8/0s if you want to, okay? But I like the little extra bit of bling on it, so that's what I'm doing. And again, be careful not to catch the 15/0s when you're going through the fire polish bead. See, I actually caught that one there. So I'm gonna have to back out of there. I'll come back when I've finished this round. Just be very careful not to catch those 15/0s. Okay, I'm adding my last ones. I'm going through the fire polish bead, and I'm also happen to be going through the first 8/0 that we added in that round. Okay, so it should look like this. And I'm gonna move forward through, if you haven't already entered the 8/0, through the 8/0, the bicone, and the next 8/0. Okay, then we're going to pick up 3 15/0s, and here I'm picking up gold, and then you're going to travel through the 8/0, the bicone, and the next 8/0, and these are just going to sit on the edge of the fire polish bead like this. Okay, so there's my fire, so they're just kind of sitting there next to the fire polish bead as a little accent. So go through all 3 of the 8/0, bicone 8/0, and then again just pick up 3 15/0s and go all the way around. And this also helps to reinforce where our bicones are, which is always a good idea, and in fact the entire outside edge, which is also a good idea. So okay, once you've gone all the way around, move forward until you're exiting from one of your bicones, and we're going to add our drop on the end. So this is a 6mm fire polish bead that I'm using as a drop. So you're going to pick up 2 11/0s. So I'm picking up the kind of gold colored ones. I'm going to go through my fire polish bead, and I'm going to pick up another one for the bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to sew back through, so I'm skipping that last 11/0. I'm sewing back through the 6mm fire polish bead and the first 11/0. This should be holding on your stone or your bead here, okay? Then you're going to pick up one more 11/0, and you're going to go through that bicone again. So you're entering into the other side. So I started coming out of this side, I'm going in the other side, okay? And that should center it underneath that bicone like this, okay? Then I'm going to reinforce, so I'm going to go down all the beads again, pass through that end 11/0, and then I'm going up through the fire polish bead and the 11/0 right after it into the next 11/0, and forward through the bicone again. Okay, all right, so that should now be on pretty good, and we've reinforced it. So we're going to work our way, just work through the edge up to the top. When you're working through the edge, don't go through the 15/0s because they can get kind of pulled and warped. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go through the 8/0 and the fire polish bead, okay? And then the next 8/0 bicone. It's always good to reinforce the bicones. Trying to not get myself looped where my tail caught. Okay, so you're going through, you're kind of following this path. You're going through the 8-0, through the fire polished bead, through the 8-0, through the bicone, boop, boop. Okay, so just ignore the 15s. Don't go into them. Okay, once you get up to the top where you're exiting from that bicone, it's kind of up to you. If you want to use a wire guard, you could do that. What I did here was I just used 2 11-0s on each side and sewed through my earring findings. So I just picked up 2 and I sewed through. Obviously, if you have a different type of earring finding, you might not want to do that. So you can kind of do it the way you want to. I would recommend, if possible, using a wire guard. I could not find any gold ones, which is why I went for the bead option, okay? And obviously you're going to want to reinforce that as much as possible. And then you can tie in both of your threads. And I would recommend tying them in next to one of the fire polish beads on the inner row here, okay, if possible. Okay, so I'll come back when I've finished my earring. Hi guys, I'm back and I finished my earrings. Here they are. Aren't those glamorous? I really like them, and they're not very big either. They're, you know, a good size if you don't like wearing really long earrings. They're quite dinky, really. Do try them. They're not difficult to do. You know, they only take a couple minutes. And I just wanted to let you guys know also, the Snow Queen Beads Collection Lite was just re-released. And this really cool fluted, see, that's the back. Aren't these cool? These Chatons were included in that collection, and I think this would look really good if you did this earring, maybe with the Snow Queen colors. You could get a really cool earring with that as well. So I'll put a link for that as well down below. But yeah, go and check out Eureka Crystal Beads if you need anything. And I will see you guys very soon for another video. Take care. Bye.